Now, it's time to rank our Clash Lane tier list in Honor of Kings. This is suitable for solo, duo, trio, full-man party rank, and also peak tournament here. So, let's get started. Disclaimer, this is my personal tier list, and this is after my experience talking to pro Clash laners and looking through peak tournament from 1.9 to 2000 here. So take it with a grain of salt, follow if you think it's suited for you. If not, just play what you are happy with. So without further ado, let's go into this Clash Lane tier list. Before we get into the tier list, this video is proudly sponsored by Topup Live, an official top-up platform that's collaborated with Honor of Kings to bring you trusted and money-worth tokens top-up. Click the link in my bio and put in the code SAGI to get up to 12% discount on each of your purchases with Topup Live. Other than that, they also provide top-up services for other games as well. So if you're looking for a trusted and reliable top-up service, check out Topup Live today. Pick starting off the Clash Lane tier list in S tier is gonna be Guan Yu, the War Saint. This pick is super strong in this patch with insane playmaking potential, plus clutch factor that can make good comebacks with heroic moments. Laning phase is consistent, only losing to the likes of Miyue, Ata, and Umbrosa. Other than that, he's really solid as a pick in this patch. Just be real, picks like Lone, Diao, and Miyue, there are insane counters to this pick because you can break the charge of Guan Yu when you're charging the bar to get the enhanced basic attack. Those heroes that I mentioned can really break the leg of this Guan Yu. Other than that, this is definitely the golden pick of this patch, but lots of practice is needed to master this pick in terms of laning phase and teamfight moments. Next up in tier S, an easy pick that's dominating this meta in Clash is definitely Byron, the Spark Mace. This hero is such a lame bully, barely losing to any single matchup aside from Charlotte and Fati in the mid game. Other than that, in the early game, Byron is extremely good for those who are looking to learn Clash Lane and are new to this role. He has insane shields and healing that can last really long in team fights, and compared to traditional tanks, he has much more mobility from his S2 and the additional movement speed from his Empower ultimate. He's extremely strong from early to mid game and slightly falls off late game as a Clash Lane, but overall he's well deserved of S tier in Clash Lane tier list. Charlotte, the Rose Fencer, will be our next S-tier Clash Lane in this list. Superb mid to late game, a true side lane 1v1 demon that dominates against fighters or tanks that's not Miyue. And top tier team fighting potential, slightly weak in the early game laning phase, but once you get to the mid game with 2 to 3 items, you start to dominate team fights with crazy flanks due to your spell kit's mobility, and she has tons of sustain coming from her spell too as well. Important to always stack up your passive to minimum 3 stacks before entering team fights. This gives you much more mobility and opportunities to control your own teamfight pacing. Talking about playmaking potential, we must give Dharma, the martial monk, some spotlight here in S tier. One of the most picked Clash laners in the HOK competitive scene due to his ability to find huge setup plays to turn the game for his team. His laning phase, not the best, but his true potential as a Clash lane S tier comes from his teamfight ability to reach the backline with his S1 flash ultimate combo. This gives him insane reach to apply pressure on against the enemy's team's carry. If you don't see Dharma, you don't walk out. Once you see him, it's already too late. Just avoid picking into Miyue, which is a really good laning matchup against him, Direnji or Yuhuan, as these are amazing counter that limits Dharma in teamfights as well. Next up, Umbrosa, the Night Plume, will also be joining S tier in this Clash Lane tier list. She has insanely good laning phase as she can alternate between melee and rage mode, making her a decent lane bully into weaker laners like Guan Yu or Dharma. But compared to Miyue, Umbrosa can actually provide much more value in team fights, super high mobility with her ultimate's movement speed, and damage potential that could shred and assassinate the backline with the flash combo. And she's also one of the rare Clash laners that can face Liang or Donghuang's suppression ultimate with no pressure due to her own ultimate giving her a free resurrection when it's up. She's definitely one of the premier Clash laners that has skyrocketed in pick rate and performance in recent patches. Next, let's talk about an interesting pick that has been really popular in high tier rank games and peak tournament. Mulan, the Iron Bloom. This hero has literally no middle line. It's either you're really good at him and makes it look so OP with her mobility, burst damage, and CC immunity in her kit, or you're absolutely horrible at it because you have no idea how to execute her combos or find the perfect timing for team fights. Hence, a good Mulan player is easily S tier, but a bad one is easily B tier or worse due to how ineffective it can actually get. But compared to all the heroes that we will talk about in this list, Mulan, although difficult, she's definitely one of the most rewarding clash lanes to actually pick up and master that could push your rank or peak tournament to a different high. With that in mind, Mulan will be placed in the middle of S to A tier due to the performance of this hero has been amazing in peak tournament above 1006. Now, let's talk about another pick that's been super consistent in this patch during the late game, Fuzi, the Wise Sage. This hero, man, pretty weak early game laning phase, but once you hit that mid game, he gets out of control and he starts being this side lane boss that you potentially need more than 2 players to attend to. And even if you destroy him in lane, but you make 1 or 2 bad team fights, he's gonna outscale you into this late game monster that does true damage and has super high damage reduction from his spell too. To win against him, you need good crowd control to lock him down and make sure he isn't able to get his resets out of his skill 2 to continue the damage reduction chain. Aside from that, he has increased in play rate due to how popular Chicha and Aaron has been getting in the recent patches, because those two heroes have a lot of hits that are low damage, which perfectly gets blocked out by Fuzi. So I would place him in S to A tier here because his laning phase is just so difficult to play out. Other than that, he's definitely one of the best late game clash lanes that you could hope for with a consistent ultimate to start off fights. Okay, the next clash lane hero will be Miyue, the martial genius here. For me, she's a top tier assassin burst style clash laner that excels in bursting down squishy heroes with her high mobility and combos. She's similar to Mulan, where it really depends on the user's mastery to really showcase her potential as a clash lane pick through the combos, through the flanks, through the burst potential. She's also a pretty good lane bully into some of the weak laners like Dharma or Fati, and is a specific counter to Guan Yu because of her grapple ability to break Guan Yu's charge bar in being able to find those successful flanks. Downside of Miyue is that she's pretty weak in dealing with heavy tanks or bruises, and she's really dependent on the player, similar to Mulan, right? If the player sucks at playing Miyue, she's B tier. If the player is really good at playing Miyue, automatically S tier. So for me, her ability to find engages, find assassinations in this patch, she sits comfortably with Fuzi and Mulan in S to A tier. Next up, Chicha, the Forged Maiden, one of the newest released in the Clash lane, super easy to pick up and very relevant in this current patch with strong laning phase due to her ability to reset her spells every time she taps into her bow form, which is the Overkill form, and her ability in team fighting is just top notch in providing consistent DPS against frontline or utilizing her ultimate's extra movement speed and damage on attack speed in flanking the enemy's backline with her core ultimate spell. But she has a big issue. When dealing with sustained style fighters or tanks such as Byron, Charlotte, Bai Qi, or Ata, due to the fact that these styles of sustained clash lanes can out-heal her damage potential, it's really difficult for her to handle these meta clash lanes, and in the top tier counter list for Chicha, Fuzi pops out of everyone. His spell 2, Fuzi's spell 2, technically negates all damage coming in from Chicha's ultimate because Chicha's ultimate deals tons of small damage numbers in a short span duration, which makes Fuzi's spell 2 damage reduction works wonders against Chicha. For Chicha's tier placing in this tier list, I will also put her in a comfortable S to A tier because she is one of the most consistent performing clash laners that have very little learning curve compared to the other members here in this list. Now, let's talk about the next Clash Lane hero, Fati the Mighty Conqueror. For me, this hero has always been really popular in competitive due to how he's able to dive towards the backline with the super long range engage on S1 and Flash, and he can also do tons of damage to frontline tanks as well, making him a very flexible pick in the Clash lane. But the problem is that he has suffered some nerfs in the previous patches, making him not as strong as before, and also his skill 1 hasn't got hot fixed yet, so it feels a bit clunky to spam S1 for fast combos. Hopefully they fix this bug in Season 14 on March 11. In terms of laning wise, he doesn't really do well into lane bullies such as Miyue, and has really normal laning phase. His strength comes from the mid game when he gets 3 items such as the Pure Sky, Axe of Torment, and Frostguard Embrace. That's where Fati finds his Pyro Spike in the mid game around 10 to 12 minutes. Overall, I think he is deserving of A tier right now, but in the good hands, of course, he's definitely S to A tier. That's why all the pro players love to play him. But in terms of the general public, he sits at A to B tier, middle here, but I will put him at A tier. Now, let's talk about Lubu, the unrivaled warrior here for this Clash Lane tier list. He's one of the rare Clash laners that has built-in true damage in his spell kit, and in Honor of Kings, True damage penetrates through shield, meaning even if you have 1 million shield but have 100 HP, the true damage still applies directly to the health bar. It sounds amazing, right? But for Lubu, his scaling takes too long as a Clash laner in this patch. He needs too many items to start ramping up in the late game to be relevant. Even after completing Siegebreaker and Pure Sky, he still needs more items to be that raid boss in the late game. Compared to the other Clash laners who can start affecting teamfights in the early to mid game, Lubu seems out of place in this meta currently due to his slow power spike. Still one of the best late game carries here in the Clash lane, but in the game environment that requires Clash laners to start being active in the early game to 10-minute team fights, Lubu doesn't fit too well with this time curve. Hence, for me, he's between B to A tier in this Clash lane list due to how effective he is in the late game, but how do you reach the late game is the question for Lubu. Next up, let's talk about the two valid Clash lane battle tanks in HOK, Ata the White Anchor and Bai Qi the ultimate weapon here. Both of them have extremely strong laning phase that can bully out some heroes like Miyue, Mulan, and Fuzi in the early game, and battle tanks in general come online extremely quick in the early to mid game with 1 or 2 items with their impactful skill set and also strong base stat coming in from their spells in general. They can engage on enemies, out-sustain them, and zone off key targets from the enemy team. But the issue with battle tanks like Bai Qi and Ata is that they tend to scale off in the late game, becoming a punching bag for the enemy team, and their side lane potential 1v1 is not as strong compared to some heroes like Charlotte or Chicha, and they also don't have explosive damage in closing out late game team fights. Hence, they tend to have a high win rate in the early to mid game when the game snowballs, but a lower win rate in the late game due to how much they rely on their teammates later on. For both of these battle tanks, Bai Qi and Ata, I will put them in A tier for now. Reasoning being that in this meta, there's a lot of jungle assassin and utility roams, and having battle tanks to run off the team comp makes a lot of sense for now. Coming up next in this tier list will be Jian the Tri-Light. Ever since the revamp, Jian has seen more spotlight in the jungle compared to the Clash lane. This is because jungle provides more resources to Jian in finishing up some of these key items in the early game, and Clash lane Jian has a lot of difficult matchups to deal with, which lowers his pick rate in the Clash lane. He's still a strong team fighter after 1 or 2 items, primarily the Pure Sky and Axe of Torment, but his pre-level 4 is just super difficult to play around. However, Clash lane Jian has the added benefit of being able to bring the common spell Flash in utilizing his S2 Flash Engage on the enemy backline. He's still one of the good Clash laners with good sustain and base damage. His position in this tier list will be between B to A here in Clash lane, or you can put him better in jungle instead for this meta. If there is ever a Clash lane hero that's easy to play and strong in general, I would say Sun Ce the Seafarer fits the description right. A very straightforward skill set packed with knockups and physical armor stacking in his passive. To top it off, his ultimate allows him to go for crazy engages or cross-map plays in the early to mid game and finding opportunities for his team. Only downside about Sun Ce is that he's not as tanky compared to battle tanks like Bai Qi or Ata, and not as agile compared to some of these fighters like Guan Yu, like Charlotte, like Dharma in general. Hence, certain level of mastery is needed if you want to make him consistently perform in every match. But as a newbie Clash lane, he's really easy to pick up with a very strong skill set and base stat. But in terms of laning phase, he practically goes 50-50 with all the matchups from S to A tier, aside from Miyue the Ravnus. Hence, I think putting Sun Ce in A tier here is justifiable. To talk about Miyue the Ravnus, I think we should discuss her position in this Clash lane tier list as well. Let's talk about what she's strong at first. Extremely oppressive in 1v1, capable of dueling and winning every single 1v1 matchup in the Clash lane, making her a perfect lane bully and 1v1 demon, which maximizes her side lane pushing potential as a split pusher. Oftentimes, you will need more than one member and certain amount of crowd control to stun lock Miyue in making sure she doesn't escape. But on the downside is that her team fighting is just not that great. Can be great if she snowballs, but if the game is an equal 50-50, her team fight capability just isn't as great compared to some of these other Clash lanes in this tier list. Hence, I think putting Miyue in the middle of B to A tier makes a lot of sense. But if you're into a hero that exerts extreme lane dominance and split push potential, Miyue is definitely the hero for you to pick up. Now, I want to introduce Clash lane players to pick up Flow-born Tank, one of the easiest heroes in Honor of Kings with busted numbers in terms of base stats and spell damage. Simple and impactful spells that are capable of knocking up enemies, which also generates healing and shielding for herself, making Floorborn Tank one of the easiest Clash laners with extremely strong raw damage and tank ability. But as mentioned, tanks in general gets outskilled in the game, but they are really strong in the early to mid game due to their base stats and levels. Just gotta master the idea of chaining Floorborn Tank spells, spell one first to gain flow, and spam your spells. That's pretty much it for Floorborn Tank. To rate this hero in this Clash lane tier list, I think B to A will make a lot of sense, or you can just play her in the jungle as well. If you're interested in picking up a utility style Clash lane, do check out Liu Bang, the dominant ruler. He's capable of teleporting to his teammates immediately and granting them shield and heals, immediately joining the teamfight from the cross-map Clash lane all the way to the farm lane starting level 4, giving your teammates the advantage in teamfights, knowing for the fact that Liu Bang will always reach first compared to the enemy Clash lane. But it's a double-edged sword. In solo or public games where teams are not as coordinated, one misplay or wrong ultimate coming in from Liu Bang will set them super far behind compared to the enemy Clash lane, making Liu Bang lose a ton of farm compared to his Clash lane counterpart. And to add on, Clash laners like Miyue, Fuzi, and Charlotte tend to bully the 1v1 matchup against Liu Bang. When he teleports away, those heroes will chip down Liu Bang's tower and make him pay for teleporting away. Definitely a perfect hero for full party and trio lobbies where team and the Liu Bang player coordinates well. Easily A tier if coordinated in the full party, but when played with randoms in solo or duo, it can drop all the way to B tier here. Remember, pick Liu Bang when you have pre-mates teammate. If not, don't pick Liu Bang. Now, this is a controversial suggestion, but I think Arthur the Paladin is actually a decently strong Clash lane pick for those who are trying to learn Clash lane or just start a HOK. Hear me out, Arthur actually has very high base stat that allows him to clear waves consistently and trade well against his opponents here. He's simple and strong, not a lot of combos, but reliable crowd control in silencing some of these annoying high mobility assassins like Jing or Luna. One silence can just stop them from whatever they are trying to do. In terms of mobility wise, the only thing I can suggest Arthur players is to understand that Arthur's spell 1 can utilize monsters to help him cross walls, and when you stack enough cooldown reduction, you can chain Arthur's silence every 2 to 3 seconds, making him super agile. But his downfall also comes from his lack of a consistent dash, making him a difficult hero to have direct access towards the backline where there is a lot of crowd control coming in from the enemy mid or roam. Hence, I will put him in B tier as a viable Clash laner. For Lixin players here, Domination Yellow Lixin is only for players who have truly mastered the Domination form, knowing the combos, knowing the animation cancels. Revenge Red form is subpar compared to some of the other split pushers available in the game. We are not comparing to the Diamond or Master game that some puppet players can just split push their way to victory, but overall, if you are interested in the split push playstyle, you can definitely try out Miyue or some other split pushers in general. I think Lixin will sit between B to C tier in this list because of how weak he is pre-level 4 and how much skills it takes to actually play Domination and Revenge form well in higher level rank or peak games. And he still needs the revamp coming in from CN server to be applied to global server before he is truly viable in every match. And to be honest, Diao Chan, the Lotus Dancer, actually performs even better in the Clash lane due to how she's able to bully the short range Clash lane fighters or tanks with her true damage and dashes. Compared to the mid lane, she gets outranged and outwave clear easily. In Clash lane, however, she gets to become a lane bully and focus on the 1v1 plays, giving her more room to farm compared to being in the mid lane. But picking Diao Chan has a lot of prerequisites. You need to make sure that your team doesn't have too much magical damage coming in from your composition. In general, if your team has 2 or more magical damage before you select a magic damage hero, you should think twice unless the enemy is full of squishies. If not, they can just build full Succubus Cloak and it's gonna be a hell of a situation for your magical damage dealers to be dealing with. This applies to other magic damage Clash laners as well, such as Miyue or Haino or others. For Diao Chan's position in this tier list is heavily impacted by the player's personal mastery. If you're a good Diao Chan, easily A tier winning the 1v1, 1v2s. A bad one or a normal one will be sitting themselves in B to C tier, which is perfectly explainable as it is just another squishy mage in the wrong hand. Introducing another niche pick in the Clash lane, it will be Xiang Yu, the Unyielding Overlord. Very straightforward spell kit that offers good sustain, built-in damage reduction in the form of a passive, and a sure kill ultimate that you can chain your flash with to catch the enemies off guard. Lower the health, more damage in your ultimate. The play rate of this hero is not as high compared to the other Clash laners, as his gap close on spell 1 is not consistent compared to the S to A tier heroes in this tier list, but a well-practiced Xiang Yu can chain his skill 1 flash to catch the enemies off guard with a super long range engage, and your damage reduction, your healing plays a pivotal role in making Xiang Yu a very consistent battle tank to begin with. Other than that, he does pretty decent in lane 2. I would put him somewhere in the middle of A to B tier here, given how strong his raw damage actually is, and the level of requirement to actually learn this hero is not as high compared to some of these meta heroes. Allain, the Forgotten Blade. Just like the name suggests, he has been forgotten by the dev team that this hero actually exists. Over-nerfed to the ground with subpar stats since 2024, the only thing that can potentially save this hero is a Dolia combination with a double ultimate refresh and a high mastery of Allain as well. This hero requires a buff to be relevant again, given the current game environment does not fit him at all. Those who main Allain before will understand the difference between the current patch Allain versus 2024 Allain. It is just entirely a different hero due to how weak the current Allain actually is. For Allain's tier list position, he sits in C tier, please buff it. And for the remaining heroes here in the bottom part, all of them can be played in the clash lane based on the player's personal mastery, but fits better potentially in another role. For example, Yao, Ogren, Nutza, Dun, Wu Yan, Kaiser. All of them may fit better as a jungle, and for Lianpo and also Heino, they may fit better as a roam or a mid lane here. But as mentioned, if you prefer them in the clash lane, it can be played as well. Under the right hands, it can be elevated from B to A tier depending on the player's understanding and mastery on hero mechanics and matchup. Now, for the final hero that we will talk about, it will be Yuan Ge, the upcoming new hero that will be released on March 11, Season 14 HOK. It depends on his base stats and skill damage on his initial release. If it's similar to HOK CN server, then he will take the spot around S to A tier. But if it's subpar stats and very low base damage, then maybe he takes around B to C tier. Overall, still a mystery to be found out. Hence, I'll put him right over here because we don't know how he will actually perform. But what we know is that he's one of the most difficult clash laners to master in the clash lane, which I will make another guide on for you guys to learn about. And if you made it this far, this is the overall clash lane tier list that fits almost every single season. Maybe after buffs and nerfs, you will see S tier heroes and A tier heroes start swapping around. And for Lixin, Yuan Ge, these heroes, after the revamp, after the initial release, then we will see more changes in the overall clash lane tier list. This applies towards multiple seasons, but hey, this is the entire clash lane tier list that you need for your Honor of Kings journey.